Underdog Fantasy.
What's up, everybody in Chiefs Kingdom and Football Land? You are here with JP, Caleb, and Quentin on Chiefs Focus Live, brought to you by the Fantasy Sports Corporation and sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. We had a little bit of drama this week, a little bit of rule changes, some weird crap going on. What's going on, guys?
Doing pretty good. It's good to see everyone. You guys doing all right?
Yeah.
The NFL continues to just make changes around the edges that are really adding up. But let's start with the Thursday Night Football rule, and then we can get into some of the other stuff and what Andy Reid said about the special teams rules. So I don't know exactly where you guys stand on the Thursday Night Football flexing, right? I'm going to go over just the details of it, and then I'll give you guys the floor to go over it. So earlier, we know the owners' meetings are going on. The owners meet a couple of times a year to talk about rule changes and potential things that can happen. So the rule change that passed 24-8, which is the minimum amount of votes that they needed. This was a rule voted that failed the last time they voted on it. They flipped 2 votes. They flipped the Commanders and the Saints votes this time. And they will now be allowed to flex games into Thursday night from weeks 13 to 17 only, a maximum of 2 flexes per season. The teams get a 28-day notice, which is different than when the original rule change was coming out. It was the last time it was voted on, it was a 15-day notice. So there was some sort of compromise there. And it will go into effect for the 2023 season only. This is not technically a permanent change. If they want it to be a permanent change, then they have to re-vote on the issue.
Yeah, I get what they're trying to do. I understand the concept behind it. I just feel like you may be putting some teams in compromising positions. You may have a team that plays, say, a Monday night game or a Sunday night game, and then they get flexed to Thursday. I mean, we already have one of the shortest, especially in the back half of the season. The Chiefs have very little rest time. So if you're going to continue to take rest time away from these guys, you might as well just go ahead and hire a bunch more medical staff because you're going to have problems. And you better bounce up, in my opinion, you better hurry up and put a 55-man roster together and make sure 50 of them are active. Because you're going to I think it's going to cause problems. What do you guys think?
Personally, I don't know why we have to have Thursday night football to begin with. Why can't we have maybe a Saturday night game or double Monday night football? I don't know why we can't have that as well. Those are my opinions. I feel like the Thursday game is just a money grab. It's normally not a good game. It's just 2 teams who are not good, who are just a waste of time, unfortunately. You only watch it because you're bored out of your mind. Number 2, whoever wins this game somehow has a tiebreaker over your team that's going to playoffs. Ultimately, that's what it looks like at the end of the day.
The flexing is supposed to fix some of those really bad. I mean, we had some bad games, you're right. And look, the NFL is giving Amazon whatever it wants at this point. I think that has a huge part to do with it. Is
Absolutely.
the fact that yeah, that Amazon paid $1 billion for Thursday night, the Thursday night rights. I will say the 28-day notice. I think it sounds good in theory because you're giving the teams time. This isn't going to be a decision made like a week out or like
That's a good thing.
sort of like how they can change the Sunday night where it feels like that they can change it at any moment, where they're flexing it from noon to Sunday night, which obviously is a much less of a problem because you're literally just changing the game time by a few hours. I'm sure it's inconvenient for the players, but like that to me, that's not as big of an issue. The thing is, if you're giving a 28-day notice, within 28 days, a football team like the Dolphins, for example, the Dolphins were a really good team to open up the season. Then maybe after week 6, if hypothetically after week 6, I know they can't technically do it with this rule change, but just follow me here. If after week 6 they flex the Dolphins into Thursday night on week 10 or 11, right? Then it would have been a bad game because the Dolphins went from a great team, a fun, offensive, explosive team, to sucking because their quarterback got injured. So that game would have been bad, and we just would have watched another bad football game.
Yep.
So I'm not sure with the 28-day notice, minimum notice, that you're really going to see more of an improvement in these games. I just the 28-day thing, I understand why they needed to have a time frame, a minimum time frame of when you were going to notice this, but how much of a difference is that going to make?
Well, I think what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and take two teams or a game that were, maybe that would have been a Sunday game, say a noon game on Sunday, that was a pretty high profile game, something somebody wanted to actually watch, and they're going to flex that to Thursday. If that's what they're planning on doing. I get that part of it because ratings, at the beginning, ratings were okay. A bunch of people got pissed because that didn't have Amazon Prime, had to go out and buy Amazon Prime and all the other things that went on. But it's still there's still a question mark on it as far as, okay, you gave them 28 days notice. That's great. But what if they played a Sunday night game? What if you want to flex a good team because whoever you have in there sucks for that Thursday night and you want to flex them to that Thursday night? And there's no, I don't know if they have a caveat in there for that. I don't know if they have a, okay, well, wait a minute. If we're playing Sunday night or Monday night, we're not getting flexed because we're not going to take a chance of injuring our players.
I feel like that could be the route they're going to take. I think if they try to move a team that plays on Sunday night, most definitely on Monday night, the flack that they will get will be bad, specific for the players. And I know the NFLPA is kind of weak, but that could be something they would really rally around and basically say, we're not doing this. I understand Thursday night football, great, all this and Danny is great, but you got to give us some good product. 28 days, I guess, is technically 4 games notice, which is nice, but a lot can happen in that time frame.
Yeah, that was you're exactly right. A lot of things can happen. That's what my point was when I was talking about the Dolphins is that, your quarterback can get injured in 28 days, and this game that you changed for week 15, you thought this was going to be a great game, all of a sudden also sucks. So, okay, so these are the 5 games that can potentially be flexed this season. We've got November 30th, the Seahawks Cowboys.
Okay.
December 7th, Patriots at Steelers. December 14th, Chargers, Raiders. The 21st, Saints, Rams, and the 28th, Jets, Browns.
You talking about flex to Thursday?
Those are the Thursday night football games. So those games can be flexed out.
Okay, that's what I was going to say, because if they're flexing those, they're not doing shit.
One of those could be flexed.
Yeah, so those are the games happening on Thursday Night Football weeks 13 through 17. So those are the games that, and honestly, a few of those games, I think Chargers, Raiders, it's a division game. That should be fine. I could see Patriots, Steelers. I could see that being a bad game just because neither one of those offenses are very good. And, are we really expecting either one of those teams to be in playoff contention at that point? So I could see that being flexed out. If there is no, I don't know if I mentioned this, but if because it's not a permanent change, if they do not use this rule for this year, it rolls over into next year as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and if they don't use it this year, they don't have to re-vote on it. If they use it next year, and then they would have to re-vote on it, the owners would, in order to make it a permanent change. So
I think Bezos is just trying to pay for his wedding.
I really do. I mean, he's trying to pay for that $35 billion divorce rate.
Woo!
She got 25% of all Amazon shares, and then 14% of something else. I can't remember what it was, but I mean, honestly, that was minimal compared to what he's worth. The guy's worth $138 billion. He's the third or fourth richest guy in the world. So,
I will say about the whole Amazon thing with NFL. I mean, it's great. It's not ESPN. It's not Fox. It's not CBS. They're gonna have to really wow me like I was a little kid when they put all CBS, Fox, and had their own things. They're gonna have to do something like that because what everything we see on Amazon, it's just, in my opinion, if this is how it's gonna be and it's gonna be a lot of issues and players are getting hurt, it's just gonna ultimately be worse for the game overall. And I don't think a strike could happen, but if, let's say, an event gets so bad where player safety is not looked upon, I could see there could be a possible issues that can stem from this. People have not already liked Thursday Night Football for a very, very long time. And are they going to get rid of it? No. There's been some suggestions people have made, things like maybe a Friday night, maybe a Saturday night game, maybe, or a doubleheader on Monday. But we're stuck with Thursday night. So it's not going to go, but I could see it's going to be some growing pains before it actually kind of gets acclimated within the next 3 to 4 years.
And here's the thing, with the NFL trying to take over the world, it's
like, I
mean, which they are. It's one of those things that you can't really put them on a Saturday schedule during college season because you're going to take away from college
that's
ball.
Fair.
And then Friday night, what network?
High school.
You got high school ball
on Monday. Then why can't we have that?
I mean, they've done doubleheaders on Monday before, so I don't know why they wouldn't do it again.
If you got to put the game on at 6:15 Central Time, that's fine. If you can't watch the late night game for people on the West Coast, East Coast when it starts at 10:30, that's fine. Something can be figured out. But this Thursday night game, I personally believe this. If you play a Thursday night game, you automatically go into a bye week. That's how I feel like it should be personally. Either going to play into it will either be a bye week going into it or a bye week coming out of it. Something along those lines, because you can't just have someone play on Sunday and they say they win like the Chiefs. They get Monday off. Tuesday and Wednesday they practice, and then Thursday already there. Your bye needs time to heal. So I feel like if they're gonna you have to play a Thursday game, you have to have a bye going into it or something along those lines. You can't just throw someone out there. It's not good. It's not good for the product, and certainly not good for the players.
No, definitely not. I don't know. I mean, I don't really like the whole idea of it. I like the fact that we have Thursday Night Football just because, waiting from Monday to Sunday kind of sucks. So you do have a game, and I do enjoy that. What's up, Big Phil? So I do like the fact that we have it. I mean, people can complain. Look, man, no matter what it is, people are going to bitch. So it is what it is. It's
not going to be happy with anything.
Nobody's ever happy. Damn. But it's nice to have football, 3 days a week. I enjoy that.
Yeah, it really is. Especially if you're a college football fan. I've been getting more into college football, especially since I started doing this and writing about draft prospects and stuff like that. I've paid more attention to it. But I'm also a fan of Thursday Night Football. I agree. It gives you something to look forward to right before the weekend, right? You know, when it's a Tuesday, you're like, man, I got a good Thursday Night Football game coming on, and so you just wait a little bit. You can watch some football. I think the worst part about this is that Mark Davis said something, and it makes me agree that I have to agree with Mark Davis because he said something. And so really that's the worst part about all this.
I guarantee you somebody put that in his ear because he never comes up with anything on his own.
So we know, we talked about this when this was discussed a few months ago, that the Giants owner called it abusive, giving the ability to flex Thursday Night Football. He called it abusive. So this is what Mark Davis said this time around when it was passed. It's kind of a long quote, but I think it's all good. He said, quote, "Just make the schedule and play it. If if you have a Raiders Chargers game in Las Vegas scheduled for a Thursday, and all the fans driving from Los Angeles, the Raiders fans and all 3 Chargers fans buy their tickets and book their hotels, how in the hell do you schedule it and say, sorry, it's now on Sunday? How the hell do you do that? Everybody should.
Yep.
Everybody should get the respect. That's the part I'm strong on. So one, thank you for calling out the 3 Chargers fans. That's half of what I usually give the Chargers credit for. I usually said it was about 6. So, but look, I think he's right. The part we haven't talked about, why it's so abusive is not just the guys that are playing it. It also sucks for the fans.
Yep.
I know there are people that they'll pick an away game around this time, and they'll say, hey, we're going to this game. We're booking our tickets. As soon as the tickets are for sale, we're booking our hotel, we're booking our airline tickets, and we're buying those Chiefs tickets, and we're going to spend the weekend in this city. And the main part of our time is to watch the game at 3:45 at whatever stadium. And they're taking a little mini vacation to go watch the Chiefs game and to spend a weekend in another city. Could you imagine if you did that and you learn a month before that vacation is supposed to start for you that they're moving that game ahead?
We watched it happen last year or the year before that the Buffalo game because of the snow. And everybody had those tickets and it was a big uproar,
At least then you could say, that was something that you can't plan for like 5 feet of snow.
Yeah.
So or when the games have been moved for hurricanes, I believe the last year, I think it was a Buccaneers or a Miami game that had to be moved.
Miami was
because there was a hurricane coming. It's like that stuff happens, and there's nothing in the NFL. There's nothing
it was
anybody
Tampa.
can do
You're
about
right.
that.
It was Tampa. Tampa got hammered.
Yeah, I think the Saints have also had to move games because of hurricane. Even though they play in a dome, it was just there was the potential for that to come through. So that stuff happens, and I think most people it sucks for them, and I think that's just life. But this is something the NFL is intentionally doing. And I think it really sucks for those people, traveling fans. And I think you're going to discourage some people from going and doing that because you have to get time off. You have to pay for your hotel. You pay for your plane ticket. You go and pay for your ticket for the game. And not all of that is refundable. So it's just, it's
especially with plane tickets, you're going to end up with a voucher.
Yeah.
That you could fly somewhere else, at some other time.
That's only good for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And it's just a lot of moving parts that is just not sufficient for the all glorious dollar bill that I have right here in my wallet. I mean, this is what it's coming down to is this money.
Yeah.
How much money can the NFL get? I mean, I understand it's a business. That's what their job's supposed to do. Any business wants to make money. But when it starts affecting your customers, that's where problems lie. So a grocery store, let's say Price House around here decides, you know what? We're not going to sell ground beef anymore. Everyone's going to get mad. I've been to Price House. People buy ground beef all the time. People are going to do an uproar. There'll be some issues. They'll lose money. They'll bring it back. I think that's what we can see with the NFL, with the whole issue that with the Thursday night game is that due to the money and players were not spending as much, if that's an issue, they're going to basically try to go around and maybe fix all this. Now, the NFL may have to do something where they do like a refund issue there. But then again, you're stuck with the plane ticket money. At the end of the day, it's about this.
Everything.
It's about this.
It is
the dollar bill. So
here's
there's
the thing
nothing we can do. But it's interesting to see how will the NFL brand as a whole deal with this issue, and what problems can they do to fix it, and how will this affect overtime?
Okay, well, let me ask you guys a question and see if you know this answer. Do you know what the highest price stadium is for tickets in the NFL?
It's the Raiders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, I talked to a guy yesterday, as a matter of fact. Or no, it was the day before. He says, I was going to go to this game, this Raiders game. He said, but then I looked at the ticket prices. And I said, so $450 to $475 for nosebleed, right? And he goes, $463. I said, and that's for nosebleed, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yes. He said, so I live here. He said, so if I would have went to the game, I said, now what you're not taking into consideration is the $120 it cost you to park. And he goes, what? And I said, one parking spot 2 miles away is $120. If you go on a primetime game, you're screwed. You might as well just not make your house payment that week or that month because that's what it's going to cost you.
Well, and here's my whole issue with it. I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but it's gotten to a point where the common man or the common person in general, people, cannot go to the game. Like, I would like to go to a playoff game, but if you're making to where it's on my pay bracket and I'm working a lot, I mean, it sucks. I mean, I can watch on the TV, but it's like the people, you have to have a lot of money, and obviously it is. I understand parking, food's not going to be cheap. It's going to be expensive. But do the tickets need to be that expensive? Like, seriously? I'm not having a sideline seat next to Patrick Mahomes and him on the bench. I mean, this is not the NBA. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is not what they have at Royal Stadium where they have like a dugout just for the fans to watch. I feel like they make so much money. I just feel like personally, if Quinn and I want to go to the game, we're going to have to cop of about $300.
And that doesn't even include anything that you want to buy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's ridiculous. And I understand
nuts.
it's like, I just wish it was more economical for people, but ultimately we're in a society where, you know, if I want to make money, it is what it is, and people are going to pay for that. They're going to go to the game rather than do their house payment. They're going to buy season tickets, JP, and not be on their bills and do things like that. And everyone has a choice, but it is kind of frustrating when it gets to certain points in the season where a fan who's enjoyed the game can't just go watch it.
You always know when season ticket holders bought tickets and they shouldn't have, because usually it pops up on Twitter. I got a wedding to go to. Does anybody want to buy my tickets at face value? And then the following week, I've got a funeral. Does anybody want to buy my tickets at face value? That's when you know somebody should have never bought season tickets. Yeah. It's that simple. But I agree. I mean, it's gotten to a point now to where, and I don't know if, I mean, you guys are probably too young to remember this, but back in the day, boxing, prior to Mike Tyson, okay, Mike Tyson kind of changed the game. But prior to Mike Tyson, if you wanted ringside seats, okay, I mean, I'm talking about for a heavyweight match, you'd spend $5,000 for a ringside seat, and you're talking about
that makes sense.
90, okay, maybe a little earlier. When Tyson got in, they went to $50,000 after his first 3 fights. Now, guys, I mean, boxing is not nearly what it used to be, but that's what the NFL is kind of going towards, and they've got to not do that, because I understand they make most of their money off networks, but they also want to make money in the stadiums. You have to have a happy medium in there. If you want people to stay at home and watch the game, then why even have seats? Because the common person that makes average money or normal money, you know, white-collar people can't go out and buy that kind of, especially here. I mean, the people that go to the Raiders games, most of them don't live here.
That's what I was going to say, is that, you know, the reason why Raiders can charge so much is because you're investing in that tourism sort of thing. I mean, when I was in Las Vegas last summer, I went and did the tour of the stadium, but which if you ever get an opportunity for it, it was pretty cool. To do the tour. I wore my Tony Gonzalez jersey. It was great.
Good, Quentin. Good
times.
If you ever, you know, we were able to walk to the stadium from the Strip, so you don't have to drive to the stadium. It's like 2 blocks, depending on where you're staying on the Strip. And you know, it was like 2 blocks away, and there's sidewalks for you to walk all the way there, so you weren't like walking in the middle of the road. But I mean, I agree with a lot of the sentiment there. You know, I mean, it is expensive to go, but you only get 8 or 9 home games a year, so it's not like the Royals or basketball, hockey, where you're getting, you know, 80 plus options, 40 times to go there. So, you know, that supply and demand, I guess, comes in. And, you know, Kansas City, when your team's good, you know, tickets cost
more. You can charge more.
With the Royals.
This is what it is.
Yeah, that's the way. So I just think that this, to me, is it's a problem about them not really caring about the fans, and that sucks to me. That's what really.
Yeah, I agree.
Mean, Thursday Night Football, we've heard some players complain about it. I believe there are other players. I think Travis Kelce says he likes playing on Thursday because you get that little extra break afterwards. You know, it's just that this, I think, is the first rule change where it really is just a big middle finger to fans that want to go to games.
Absolutely. I mean, you have people that travel, like Philip said. I mean, there's guys that the retired people that have RVs and their life is traveling to every NFL game that they want to go to. I remember when I played baseball, there was people that their goal in life was to visit every single Major League Baseball stadium and
Mhm.
go to a game. And a lot of them did. So the same thing goes for football. People want to do the exact same thing. But when you're spending, I guess if you have the money to own an RV and you can pay for the gas, okay, whatever. But driving 3,000 miles across country to go to a football game, or 1,500 miles, or whatever you're going to do, to spend another $1,000 for two people to go to a game, that's insane. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. And then, of course, the way they placed the stadium, the parking is a little weird. The parking, you park and you pay about $1.20, and then you get on a bus, and they shuttle you to the stadium
Mhm.
because they don't want people walking across I-15 and getting killed.
No,
So that's their answer to it.
just put a
Whatever. I mean,
streetcar up. Never for
yeah,
Kansas City, or give us something do something like that.
yeah. Well, they have a lot of the boardwalk things where they the skywalks, so they go over the.
Okay.
But it's not. They're not ever. I don't think they'll ever build one over I-15. That's crazy. But anyway, it's gotten out of hand. I think with the cost But anyway, let's do a really quick commercial and we'll come right back.
Underdog Fantasy is here to save your post-fantasy football season blues. The easiest place to play and win with the Underdog Fantasy app. Get up to 20 times your money in a single night with our Pick'em contests. Grab some insurance when setting your picks and win even when one pick fails. Go online now and use the promo code ChiefsFocus to double your deposit up to $100. Sit gingerbread, good girl.
I got to put a picture of my dog in there because I can't do that dog anymore. It's a great look. I love Underdog Fantasy, but that dog, man, I mean, it looks like you go to pet him, you're going to slice your hand open. That wiry ass hair. But moving on. I think it's just gotten out of hand, and I think that I get what they're trying to do. I think they see, and that's why Goodell is being voted back in. I think it's just a big politics thing because he puts asses in the seats and knows how to make the owners money, and that's what his job is. So I don't know. He's going to start. I think there's always that thing where how much is too much, and I'm wondering if they're not going to hit that level of, oh shit, this might just be too much. We may be going a little too far at some point.
Well, they're going to learn eventually.
So. I think that we finally hit that with the special teams. And the rule
Agreed. Good segue.
Mm-hmm.
Good segue.
So the other rule change that came out was they passed a rule. This is a lot like the Thursday Night Football Flex, where it's a trial run. This is only a new rule for the 2023 season. They would have to re-put it in at the end of the season if the owners wanted to continue it. This has probably been a more controversial rule than the Thursday Night Football Flex. I've seen way more backlash from this in terms of the NFL coaches and players coaches have come out and have voiced their displeasure on this. And the rule is that a fair catch caught in the area of the field automatically gives you the ball at the 25-yard line if you call a fair catch between the end zone and the 25-yard line. So if you fair catch it on the 5, then you take it to the 25.
Yeah,
Andy Reid, when Andy Reid is a very neutral person when he talks to the media, he doesn't talk highly about himself. He'll always say, he's like, oh, that's a good football team. Even if they're like, the 06 Lions, they were a good football team to him.
Mm-hmm.
If Andy Reid comes back and he starts saying bad things about a rule or something, that's bad. Yeah. So this is what Andy Reid said in a press conference yesterday. He said, or today, I think it was today, actually. He said, my thing is, where does it stop? You don't want to take too many pieces away and you'll be playing flag football.
Whoa.
That is a pretty big thing. The biggest reason behind this that the NFL says is they're doing this for quote unquote player safety. My problem is
Mhm.
that are we really preventing, like, are we really helping players here? Because when the ball is kicked, your coverage team is still running down the field, which means the blockers are still blocking guys, and they don't know if a fair catch is caught. So are we really helping like these hard hits? Because the only person that won't get hit is the guy catching the ball. Um, According to my math, there are 23 other or 21 other dudes that are on that football field that are making contact with other players. So I'm just not sure that you're helping quote unquote player safety. And if we're being honest with each other, a kickoff can be the most exciting point in a football game. A kickoff
Mhm.
return for a touchdown, or even a kickoff return that goes to the 35, can be one of the most exciting moments in a game.
I agree.
I-
I just don't. There's the player safety thing is kind of crap to me. Look, man, most players are going to bring the ball out anyway. We've seen guys bring the ball out, 8
10
yards
yards end zone.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a pile of crap. They're trying to speed the game up, and that's exactly what it's going to do. And if you think about it, start from the 5-yard line or you start from the 25-yard line. Which one is going to go move a little bit quicker? Going from the 25-yard line. I think it's wrong. If a punter or a kicker puts a ball in the right spot and you have to catch it on the 1-yard line, that's on you. That's a great kicker. Why do you take that away from him and say, okay, we can go out to the 25 because he dropped it directly where he needed to drop it? Come on, man. I mean, it's just wrong. I don't care. It's wrong. Whether it's a punt or a kickoff return or a kickoff period, it's wrong. I think they're just going to college rules.
Quentin, is this rule specifically? I don't mean to interrupt you, JP. Is this specifically for kicking or punting, or is it
Kickoffs.
both? Oh, okay.
I
mean,
I don't like it.
I understand, but why? Like, what's the reason? We don't want to. What are we going to play 7v7 at this point? Or do we not need offensive linemen? I mean, a lot of the players, for the most part, have known what they're signing up for. That's why the NFLPA has fought for them to have good insurance after football. Injuries are going to happen. Has the NFL taken some good steps to fix the issues? I believe so, yes. And also due to public pressure has really caused a lot of that. But I feel like you can't get rid of the kickoff. That's where you find sometimes the hungriest players. That is right there. 22 players' dreams that are now cut. And your 22 players' dreams that are cut. Well, just like that. I believe personally, you got to keep that in the game. Like you said, it's the most interesting part. Whenever we see Pacheco take a kickoff out of the end zone and runs up 30, 40 yards, that's exciting to see other things that are happening. It's interesting to see the intricacies and plays that happen from that. To get rid of that is more like we just want to see offensive firepower and defense. If they get rid of it, it's going to have some issues, kind of like we saw the defensive pass interference. That caused a whole host of problems where you can review it. So I understand the NFL is trying to move to a different spot, but they're really, in my opinion, hindering themselves many different ways with these rule changes. Andy Reid is a pretty much agreeable person. Why get rid of it? There is no reason to. It makes the game exciting. I just don't want to watch offense and defense. I enjoyed it when I got to see Tyreek Hill catch a 4-yard touchdown pass from Mahomes, then run a punt back 35 yards, and then do things like that. Let these other leagues come what Philip is saying, go off of that. Injuries are going to happen.
Yeah, I just think I'll get to Philip's comment here in a second, JP. I just think that there are plenty of guys whose job is to be special teams guys. And, that's how you fill up the back end of the roster. There are plenty of guys that are kept on, wide receivers, maybe that fourth linebacker, that his job is on the special teams, and eventually he earns the trust of the guys, the coaches.
We can evaluate so much talent there.
A guy like Watts here for so long. That was his
Pringle.
role. He was a special teams guy. Daniel Sorensen. The reason Daniel Sorensen was on this roster as late as he was because of his contribution in special teams. He wasn't a very good safety / linebacker at that point in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He was on this roster as a special teams guy, and because he was able to contribute there, he made it on the field as a defensive player. There are so many guys, the back end of your roster, your fifth linebacker, your sixth corner, you're on the roster for special teams, and eventually, whether it's injuries that happen to the guys in front of you or whatever, you end up taking significant snaps and meaningful snaps on the defense or offense. This is a problem for getting rid of guys who, here in Kansas City, our special teams coordinator picks the last three guys on the roster. He gets Dave Toub gets say on the last. Andy Reid has said that for years now. Dave Toub gets say on the last three spots because they're needed on special teams. You're removing half the special teams by getting rid of kickoffs. And I also just don't understand, like I said earlier, about how this helps player safety, because you are still having collisions because guys are going to run down. They don't know if the ball is going to be fair caught or not. They're still running down the field and running into people. There are still going to be 20 players hitting into each other. I just don't understand this. I think that this is just a way for them to deflect and say they care about player safety while at the same time flexing in Thursday Night Football and
speeding up the games
and doing all this stuff. I don't even know if it has anything to speeding up the game, because you're still kicking the ball off. It's still
but you got to think, if you're starting from the 5-yard line versus the 25-yard line, that's a huge difference. You're giving an advantage to both sides, I guess, to a degree, because everybody's got to start off the same spot. But if you fair catch it, now let me ask you this: if you're a special teams player, especially a returner, and your team pulls a Stephen Ross and says, "Hey, I want you to fair catch every single ball because we want to start on the 25-yard line." How many guys want to play special teams and run a ball back?
No, they like, give it to another team. I'm not doing this.
Exactly. You have guys that run down the field and get hamstring pulls from just running. I mean,
yeah, ask Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, if you play in smartass, if you play in Chicago, you're going to twist your ankle because the field's so shitty. Same with Washington, unless this new guy revamps it. But I don't know, man. I think it's just it's a numbers game, and I don't like the numbers that they're making enough money. I mean, honestly, it's the highest revenue sport in the freaking world right now. So how much is too much? Again, how much is too much? And I think this is too much.
I think this rule 100% makes the game worse.
It does.
Philip here brought up the XFL. For those of you that didn't watch the XFL, the kicker starts at the 30-yard line with everybody else at the 35, which is 5 yards away from the returning team. And then the kicker and punt or returner are the only ones allowed to move pre-kickoff. And then the ball's kicked. And so you're not that far away from the return team. So you're avoiding those, running start head-on collisions. You're avoiding those massive
full speed collisions. Yeah, the full speed collisions.
You're avoiding those, which is where a lot of the trauma comes from, because it's a car crash. So, but you're still allowing for some of those. You're still allowing for those big returns. Touchbacks were spotted at the 35-yard line, so teams didn't have that incentive of, let's just kick it out of the back of the end zone. So because you're giving up, compared to the NFL, an extra 10 yards. So you wanted to kick it deep enough to where the guy had to return it. I think that's what the NFL should do, is just steal the rules from the XFL, because you're maintaining the kickoff. The NFL has stolen stuff from previous leagues before.
Yep.
The reason why the NFL has a sky cam was because of the XFL in the 80s. That's why there's a sky cam. That was not something the NFL came up with by themselves. That was something they stole.
I agree. What was Philip saying? He says, with the XFL rule, there is a kickoff return rate of over 90% and increased average starting field position, while also creating fewer injuries. I don't know, man. To me, I think, again, it's a money grab, whatever. I mean, they can say they're worried about player safety. And again, to your point, I mean, I'm sorry, but the committee, the union sucks for the NFL.
NFLPA?
Yeah, the
I don't
NFLPA
understand
sucks.
why it's so hard for them to do anything.
Because they didn't put
Yeah.
anything in place. They did it the wrong way.
It's just the way they do stuff.
And
is
you have the
so
wrong people running the
lackadaisical.
NFLPA.
because
they
it's
just go ahead.
baseball, because the NFL players are only there for a couple of years, whereas in baseball, baseball's the strongest one because guys' careers last longer,
Mm-hmm.
and there's more players because of the minor league system.
Mm-hmm.
So, they have more leverage there. I think that the NFLPA needs to have some sort of restriction on what rules can come into place.
Yep.
Because it just seems arbitrary that, the NFL owners just seem to be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
The NFLPA has no way of changing. It's just this sucks. And I think that this is definitely one of the things. I hope they don't do it. I think we're gonna see this happen so often. And
Look, man, when you have a union, your union rep and your union committee controls what businesses do. That's the point with the employees. That's the point of having a union. If you put a union in place that really honestly doesn't really give a rat's ass, but they just want to say they do, or they have no control over it because you didn't give them the rights to have control over anything, that's where the players have to step up. I think some of the coaches have to step up, and they have to go directly to the owners and say, hey, look, we're the ones that, our players are suffering because of this. You guys aren't allowing them to do shit.
And that's
The
ultimately
NFLPA has no control.
I must say, I don't want this to just come off as like the NFL union has done good things for the players. It's not like they're totally, they're
Yeah, but they had to pull it. Dude, it took them forever just
They've
to
allowed so many things to happen.
If we're gonna sit here and complain about, we're gonna bash the NFL union for some of the stuff. I do think it's also important to say that the NFL union has done some good things, especially.
I'm not bashing the union. I'm bashing the way it was set up.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're, showing both sides of this. I just think that the NFL owners just seem to have too much arbitrary power to be able to change stuff like this randomly. This was not a conversation that I thought was happening over the entire season. This seemed to sort of come out of nowhere. I know Roger Goodell has talked about changing the kickoff. He's brought that up a few times. I just think this is the wrong way to go about it, and we're gonna see what's objectively a good kick. Right, what a great kick is to kick the ball to the 2-yard line and have your coverage team run down there and pin him at the 15. Now that kick is useless because a smart returner is just going to call a fair catch and put it at the 25. Every kickoff now is going to be around the 25. If it's in the end zone, you don't touch it. If it's at the 3-yard line, you call a fair catch and it's going to the 25. There was no longer any strategy to. Unless you're going to squib kick it with 10 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter. There was no strategy to kickoffs anymore. You just eliminated strategy in the NFL.
And tell that to Kadarius Toney, or even think about Dante Hall. Think about
their career's gone.
Their career's gone.
Partially.
I mean, it is, because that was what made those
Evan
guys.
Hester?
There we go. Yep.
I mean, you're talking about guys that made their career. That got them put on the map. And now you're basically taking that away from them. And then you're going to have coaches, no doubt, that are going to say, just kneel, just kneel, just kneel, fair catch, fair catch, whatever.
It's statistically proven you should do this rather than make sure you're not.
I'm going to assume that by the end of the year, we're going to have the analytics community talk about how it was the wrong decision to take the ball, because that's just like, to me, that makes sense. It is the wrong decision now to run with the football on kickoffs, because you will get it at the 25 no matter where, unless you're getting that ball at the kick was just god awful and it landed on the 20-yard line. You should fair catch it every time.
And you're going to hear, Quentin, how much you want to bet you're going to hear idiots around the NFL say, oh, that's because of the Chiefs and Sky Moore. How much you want to bet that's what they're going to do? I swear to God, everything, we get blamed for everything anyway. No matter what it is. I mean, it's insane. I mean, Mahomes made a comment on Twitter about the Coyotes, and Jesus, somebody that we never is supposed to be a social media expert that has 10,000 followers and been on since 2015, made some stupid comment about Mahomes, and she got lambasted by every Chiefs fan on the planet. So somebody's going to come out and say it's because Sky Moore didn't do great at returns, or The Chiefs caused it. The Chiefs voted for the. Come on, man. I mean, every damn time now, because we're good and we are who we are, we're the, supposedly the second coming of the Patriots, except an honest version of them, a better version. Everything's our fault. Everything is our fault now. And somehow it's going to come out that way.
Do we know the numbers of the vote for this particular rule? Do you know by any chance?
No, I didn't. I wish I knew. Not just the. I wish I knew who voted yes or no on it, and I mean that for the other rule too. I don't have. I just know that some of the information has come out via the usual NFL folk that on Twitter, your Adam Schefters and etc. of the world have put out who voted for things.
I love the way Adam put that out too. I can't wait for y'all to see this one.
Yeah,
because that's how he put it out. That one just surprised me. At first, I thought they were talking about punts, but we know that what Andy Reid was talking about, I think, is 100% correct. At what point does this move over to the punting game as well?
How interesting would this be if we see coaches stand up, then we see former return greats saying things such as save special teams, things like that. I mean, you're going to have a little quote-unquote culture war within the NFL. I can see that possibly happening if it gets bad enough.
And the skill level that you're taking away, Caleb, is insane.
Yep.
You're taking skill away from players that work their ass off to get to that level. I mean, I don't know, dude. I think it's an ignorant rule. I don't even want to get into it because what I really want to say right now. But as far as the voting is concerned, it always seems to be the same 24 guys that follow Goodell's shit. I'm sorry, but it is. Jerry Jones usually goes against whatever Goodell says.
He does not like him.
He does not like him. He goes against it. Philadelphia usually goes against everything Goodell says. That's just common knowledge.
And the Chiefs are pretty much like, we'll just fall in line. We don't really care.
Yeah, the Chiefs just do what they can.
Which kind of
they have
went
went against a few things, but they don't. They know they don't. Look, Clark Hunt is not as
he's not going to rock the boat unless it's like a problem, and he hasn't really ran to that issue yet.
Exactly. So. And the one thing about Clark Hunt is I've loved the fact that he's actually stepped up and really made some comments, which I never expected him to make over the last few months. I mean, he just stepped up and he'll say what he feels now, and that's cool. I'm glad he does. But he knows that he's not going to be the majority if he goes against something. Because one guy, he knows what everybody's thinking. Just like the other guys know that there's 24 teams out there that are going to go, okay, Roger, whatever you say, I'll get out from underneath the desk now. That's exactly how they look at it. And it's wrong because Roger is great at convincing these guys they're going to make a ton of money if they go this route.
Well, that's his job.
That's what he's good at. But the owners have – Jerry Jones knows. He's not stupid. The man's been around way too long and has been through three commissioners, I think.
They send him to the TV contracts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically kind of what it is.
Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of Jerry Jones. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's the smartest, pretty damn business smart. But as far as football is concerned,
Yeah, you can only be that good at so many things.
Exactly. Lamar Hunt was good at everything, but not Jerry Jones. I just don't think – I think he just – look, when Jerry Jones doesn't like you, he's going to try and convince everybody else not to like you. And he's gotten – I mean, he had Daniel Snyder on his side, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Can't think of his name. Howie Rosen. Is that his name?
I think that's the GM's name. I don't know who their owner is.
Whoever their owner is. He had the Carolina Panthers on his side for a long time. I can't remember who else. There was a few teams that just – whatever Jerry said, they went with. And I believe Robert Kraft was pretty close to into that little group as well, of just saying no. So, I don't know, man. And Stephen Ross, he just says no because he don't even know. He's got his own damn set of problems. Yeah. And he's going to be the next one to get booted out of the NFL. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He'll be the next owner that's going to be forced to sell. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, I don't care how much money he has. He's a piece of shit. But regardless, all right, I don't like the rule, and I think it's crap.
I got a couple more rules.
Spit them out.
Yeah, some of these are not nearly as big. There's just a bunch of clarity for player availability, establishing one preseason roster reduction date and related procedures, and just some transaction deadline for the Sunday night postseason games. So just roster move stuff, simplifying that. That's not really going to affect anything. But you're going to see a lot of this information come out in one go instead of over a couple of days now because of some of these rule changes. The other one, and we're not going to spend a bunch of time on this one either, but it's about what happened in the 49ers-Eagles game with the fact that they didn't have a third quarterback. You now can carry a third quarterback on the game day roster, and it's not going to count as a person on your game day roster. It does get a little finicky as to how you can carry them. You can't use them whenever you want. There are some limits. Both your quarterbacks have to be injured. You can't bring them in. So that rule is a little bit. It's not as straightforward. But now teams, so hopefully we will never see what happened in the Eagles-49ers game happen again. Yeah. Personally, for me, Jimmy Garoppolo should have been available for that game. If this rule was in this previous season, Jimmy Garoppolo would have been able to play that game, even though he wasn't 100% healthy. He should have been the emergency quarterback. And I don't think the 49ers win that game, but I do think that game is way more entertaining.
It would have been a lot closer game.
That might have been the first time I've ever turned off a championship game. I mean, I literally in the halfway through the third quarter when Brock Purdy went back out there, and I mean, it was obvious that he wasn't physically able to throw the ball with his right hand. I think he still should have tried to throw it with his left hand, but I don't even mean that as a joke. I mean, he literally should have tried to throw the ball with his left hand because it would have been at least an attempt. But yeah, hopefully we don't see that happen again. Other than that, there's nothing else. We'll see as this goes forward. Not a lot of information coming out from OTAs.
They did move up the trade deadline too, as far as, and I do like the fact that they did that. They gave you an extra time for the. Remember, Caleb, what was it? What they do?
I said it. I don't know if they did this, but there was a discussion moving into like week 10.
Yeah, I think
week 8. So I don't think that's happened.
It might happen, though. I think it may happen before the season, before training camp starts, is from what I've heard. Now, we'll find out tomorrow night. We're going to talk to somebody that has a little bit of insight. So I'm a little controversial type of guy. We might as well bring it up now because, anybody that listens to this, make sure you check out our show tomorrow night on Chiefs Focus Live on YouTube. We are having Adam Rank on, and we're going to give him a little crap. I mean, we have to. Adam's a cool guy. I know a lot of people don't like him because of his takes, but that's part of the business. It could be good publicity or bad. Sometimes it just makes you money.
What time is it tomorrow?
It's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
So
a little bit earlier.
Yep, a little bit earlier than the normal show. We made a concession for Adam because he has something with his kid, and I'm cool with that. I know what it's like to have a kid, especially after what went on yesterday, and I'll just leave that alone. But he's going to come on the show. We're going to give him some crap about, picking the Chiefs to go 9-win seasons 3 times in a row, and we're going to have some fun. I mean, he put out a comment on Twitter, and him and I went back and forth a little bit jokingly. And hey, man, now we're talking a lot, and he's going to be on the show. So I'm happy with it. It's nice to have somebody that's that intelligent. And I will say this about Adam. He's an extremely intelligent guy about fantasy football. He understands it more than anybody. He is a fantasy guru. He's the NFL Network's fantasy guru. So he's going to come on, and we're going to talk some crap, give him a little trouble. Quentin, I know you're going to have fun.
Oh, I'm excited because I think he will validate many of my takes, and you guys will be.
Well, you're both doubters.
So
you're both doubters.
He's going to validate some of my quote unquote hot takes when really they're just me being realistic, and I'm going to feel very good about myself.
You know what,
I mean,
Caleb, I thought about this yesterday, or actually today after an inside DM that Devin put out.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin and Devin should do a show on their own called The Doubters. Is it the NFL Doubters? Them
I'll
two
come
guys
on
there are perfect.
talk once in a while.
I just think that, man, he's gonna. You think my ego's big now? You should wait till he validates my takes. It's gonna be so bad. I mean, the next week for you guys is gonna be unbearable.
Oh God!
Well, Quentin,
when he agrees with my
before
takes.
you joined the show with us, I was normally the doubter, and JP would always shoot for the moon. I'm like, no, we gotta get to this guy, the atmosphere first. So it is nice to have some of that burn.
Well, but in your
but
defense,
I do hope some of your takes get validified because I think.
But in your defense, Caleb, you were never as pessimistic.
You would say the Chiefs going to go 17. I'm like, JP, probably.
Well, there was times I did.
3.
They look
like, they're
good.
going to go blow them up by 40. JP, they're probably going to win by a touchdown, maybe 10 at the most.
And how many times we almost broke even on that, though, because when we talked about the Raiders game, you said, I think that's going to be about a 3 to 7 point game. We whipped their ass.
Win.
Twice. Counts and horseshoes and hand
Whatever. Cut. We're done.
Real quick. We got 5 minutes. So somebody brought up the Raiders, not because of Mark Davis and his ignorance or Tom Brady and his ignorance, but they brought up the Raiders in their schedule this year and looking at I want to know what you guys think their record's going to be, realistically what their record's going to be. And we're going to ask Adam this tomorrow night because I know he's a West Coast guy right now. So I don't know who his actual team is, but we'll find that out tomorrow night. Apparently it's not the Chiefs. But somebody on Twitter, and I wish I could remember who it was, somebody that has a little bit of clout on Twitter, said that they were going to be second place in the division behind the Chiefs this year.
At least they put them behind the Chiefs.
Huh?
Said at least they put them behind the Chiefs.
Well, they're not stupid. I mean, they can't be that ignorant. It was dumb enough to put him second. But then, if they even, I mean, look, they're not the Chargers. The Chargers have already won the AFC Championship game and probably won the 2024 Super Bowl. So it kind of is what it is. But what do you guys think? Do you think they're going to be second in the division, or do you think they're going to be?
I'm going to go with a hard no.
Yes, same.
And that's it. That's the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I put them fighting with Denver again this year for dead last. I think Denver's going to step up a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I am going to take it back because I said this before. I have a strange feeling that Denver might step up this year because of Peyton. Because of Peyton. Sean Payton has already taken things away that Russell Wilson had in his diva room. And I think, I will say this. If Russell Wilson plays the first 3 games as he played last year, he will be sitting on the bench and someone else will be in that position. Because Sean Payton doesn't give a crap about divas. He doesn't care what your name is. He doesn't care if you got your own masseuse or your own chef or you're married to Sierra. He wants to win football games. So I will give the Denver Broncos a little bit of clout this year, which I hate doing. I feel like they might end up second in the division.
And that's something we can talk with Adam tomorrow too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll figure it out. So
yeah, but we all know that the Raiders are going to probably be dead last, and I feel like this is the last year we'll see Josh McDaniels in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. So Davis doesn't keep anybody very long anyway. So with that being said, we really appreciate everybody for joining. Make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy. Go on there, double up your bet up to $100. And we appreciate Fantasy Sports Corporation for allowing us to do this every Wednesday night. If you want to jump on our show tomorrow night, you can. Chiefs Focus Live. Just look us up. We are there. We're going to have Adam Rank on. And the following week, we have a football player coming on. So with that being said, we appreciate everybody. Peace out. Enjoy your night.